Hello everyone. Everybody's there. Let's start this webinar offered by ESPA pumps. And today we are going to talking about ESPA booster sets, or what is the pressurization system. We will talk all about these issues. Let's start. I hope everybody's there and you are listening to me. First of all, my name is Llorens, and I am the technical sales engineer in ESPA headquarters. Okay, and in case you have any doubts, in the end of this series, of this webinar, we can discuss about all the doubts and issues you want to discuss. Okay, then let's start. Okay, what is the water pressurization? We are talking today about modern pressurization, right? It's a matter of providing greater water pressure to a network where the water does not arrive by itself, lacking by pressure, or system has to become automatic. We can talk about pressurization in a different levels. For example, domestic. In its domestic aspect, it can be used in any type of dwelling, apartment, house, castle, any kind where it is needed a pressurization system. We can find a pump with its pressurization component. Also, in residential areas, residential buildings, so that the water reaches all the floors with sufficient pressure, especially the highest ones, the highest flat, the highest apartment, where the most pressure is needed. Industrial requirements, also in industries, to give pressure to any process, any industrial process that require pressure. You see, in all the aspects of our life where the water has to be moved, we find the booster sets. And another type of water pressurization would be the firefighting booster set. Today we are not talking about it, but it's another kind of water pressurization system. What is a booster set? Actually, a modern booster set. Which are the components? Which are the main components? We are talking about two main components. It would be the pump. It would be one or two or three or up to 8 pumps in our frequency driver, and the PFD, variable frequency drive. This is the part that will control and automate the pump in order to get the modern booster set. This is an example of a 2-pump booster set called, in our case, TKE2. Let's talk now about pressurization. Which are the differences between modern and old systems? Modern and old. Modern are systems that are high efficient with a variable speed. Meanwhile, the old ones have limited efficiency with fixed speed. Modern are silent, the old ones are noisy because they are always the same fixed speed. The modern have great control, while the old ones limited control. Also, it's a point that it's a little bit that we have to talk about. The initial investment, of course, the modern one, it's a little bit more expensive than an old one, of course, because you have the frequency drive. But the amortization is much greater in a modern one because the cost of the purchase in a modern one is the less important part in the life cycle of a booster set. And the old one, you have to maintain it, you have to pay all the electrical costs and maintenance. At the end of the life cycle of the pump, old system is much more expensive in the whole than in a modern system. So that the lifetime is also greater. It's longer in a modern one because all the pumps suffer much less because the pump is always on the demand of the installation. And what about the volume? Okay, the modern ones are compact and convenient booster sets between the old that are heavyweight booster sets, and you don't need that special tank that is so big. Then, when we talk about modern pressurization, we are also talking about energy efficiency. In the past, as we as we said, we had these big vessel tanks that now don't need anymore. We have the SPEEDRIVE and compact booster set, high efficiency. And due to the power consumption, it can also be used with solar systems. Types of booster sets. There are many types of booster sets. We are talking about the ones we have now that are a pump, for example, a Prisma with a PRESSURIZATION. This is 6-speed pump. They have all the protections needed, and for example, for trail running, and the function of this is very easy. The pump starts and stops in function of the demand that we have at the moment. Then we have an evolution of this PRESSURIZATION, which would be the Techno Plus and Techno Press, which are inox pumps with the variable frequency drive. These pumps have always the pressure constant. Okay, the pressure is constant between if we have 1 shower, 2 showers, 10 showers, we have always this pressure that remains constant, and this is an advantage because the installation will suffer much less. And the same solution with submersible pumps. We have the submersible pump Aqua Plus and also the submersible Aqua Box. In case you don't want to hear any noise, this is the recommended solution for you. And as an evolution of all this, and to end off, we have the CKE2 product that is a complete booster set and ready to install and start functioning. I will show you now some examples of domestic installation. For example, Prisma, top of the vessel tank, some Prismas, and a PRESSURIZATION. Here, for the irrigation, also can be used. An example of 2 booster set Prisma with the vessel tank enormous. This is a real example of a booster set installed here in Spain, in the Costa Brava, in some apartments with the CKE2. As you see, we can mount 2, 3 pumps and up to, for example, this is a real example of 8 pumps installed in an apartment. But we cannot talk about modern pressurization without talking about the variable frequency drive, which in our case is the SPEEDRIVE. What is the SPEEDRIVE? What is it about? This is the most important part regarding the modern variable frequency drive pressurization system, because it's the part that controls everything. It makes sense to talk about this. It's very easy. It has a backlit display, 5 buttons to configure, to set it up. It's very easy, and it's domestic. We have the advantages of savings, great performance and control, but we have less consumption, less wearing, and less SPEEDRIVE. Which are the components? The main components of the SPEEDRIVE are EMC filter, the wires input, the power circuit, and the aluminum radiator body. We have to take into account that these SPEEDRIVE are mounted on the motor, on the engine of the pump. So the refrigeration of this, we need the aluminum radiator body. And single phase model, we have 3 models, 1 single phase and 2 3-phase. Okay, the single phase model up to 3 horsepower, and the 3-phase up to 3 horsepower and 7.5 horsepower. With the amperages for the single phase up to 10 amperes, 6 and 14 for the 3-phase. But which is the key component also in the booster set? This is the pressure sensor. The pressure sensor is in charge of telling the pressure in all the moments to the SPEEDRIVE. So this hides up or go down the speed of the pump. So we can adapt always on the demand that we have on the system. If the system requires 4 cubic meter or 2 cubic meter or 8 cubic meter, we always will have the same pressure, thanks to this key component that is reading the pressure all the time. The standard model is 10 bar, but we also have availability of 10, 16, and 25 bar. Okay, pressure sensor. We are talking about that it's up to 8 pounds, 1 master and 7 slaves. And we have these security sensors. We normally set the booster set with 1 pressure sensor, but more sensors can be added to the booster set. If we have 2, it's better, because in case the first sensor fails, the second will come into functioning. So the booster set will never stop, and we will continue giving the water to the installation. And now, as we have talked about the SPEEDRIVE, we have to talk about the TKE, which are the booster set which mounts the SPEEDRIVE, which are very important for us. Which are the configurations? As I said, from 1 to 4 pumps, it should be 8 pumps, and it can be mounted with the multi-pumps, the multi-VE, and multi-PS, up to 140 cubic meter per hour and pressures up to 250 meters column water. Which are the main components of a booster set? Talk about the control panels, because it has everything needed for the installation. The pressure sensor, SPEEDRIVE, non-return valve, this is a very important issue, suction manifold, the base plate, the vessel, discharge manifold, and the pumps. Now, let's talk about the main advantages. Why do I need to install a modern booster set? Which are the main advantages of having installed a TKE? We have the energy savings, constant pressure, water hammer, total protection, greater lifetime of the pump, lower life cycle cost, and easy installation. We will see one by one all the advantages. Why do we have energy savings? Because the regulation of the consumption depending on demand. In the old systems, if you have a shower or 2 or 10, the demand is different, but you have always the maximum power consumption. And this is why the modern pressurization is so important, because we can adapt to the power consumption. We can adapt on the demand. If we have less demand, we spend less power. So this is very important, and it gives the booster set more efficiency. That's why it's so important. We can save up to 60%, 70% of the income energy. Constant pressure, second advantage is gives the set more efficient, creates service quality, free of oscillation and durability of the set. Water hammer, you know this aspect when we have a closed valve, we open the valve because it's so water is needed, there is a flow, and when we have a sudden close in the old systems, we had this so-called the water hammer, but this is very dangerous because it can damage seriously the installations that we have. So in order to reduce or to eliminate the vibrations on the installation, we have this modern booster set. As the speed of the pump goes in function of the demand, when you have a sudden close, it has not any type of problems because the pump will notice, and the transducer or the pressure sensor will say to the pump that it has to stop, and we won't have this water hammer. Which are the protections that we have with these booster sets? Total protection as lack of water and dry running. In case we don't have any water or any pressure in the pipes, thanks to the transducer or the pressure sensor, we will notice and we will stop the pump. So it will not damage the pump. Overvoltage, input tension, temperature. In case of high temperature, the speed drive will stop the system. Transducer, if we will not have a transducer, it will stop, or the second pressure sensor will start. And in case of lack of level, also the system will stop. Longer life cycle. What's this? Okay, as we have less revolutions per minute, we have a longer lifetime of the pump because of the spinning of the pump. The wear is less. Noise level. As we have less revolutions, the noise also goes down. And the oscillations. With no variable frequency drive, we have many oscillations in the system. Meanwhile, if we have the variable frequency drive, we have no oscillation. Constant pressure. It's better for all the systems. And lower LCC cost. Life cycle cost. What's this? As I said in the beginning, in the differences between old and new systems, there are four main aspects to have into account: the purchase, installation, maintenance, and operating costs in all the life of a booster set. What I want to say with this, in a variable speed booster set, these are the costs from A to B to C to D. Okay, the purchase is the less important. As I said in the beginning, the important cost in this is the operating cost. This is the higher cost of a life cycle of the booster set. So in a variable speed, this is the operating cost, and these are the operating costs in a fixed speed booster set, much higher. So it is very important to install a new modern pressurization booster set. And what about the installation? If, in case we have a fixed speed pump, it's very easy to convert it and to become a new variable speed pump. How can we do it? So we remove the connection box, we install the adapter, we mount a VFD, and we already have a VFD pump. Incredible. And don't forget to install also the pressure sensor. And we have already a modern pressurization system. Tuned with the ESPA pressure units are pre-configured in origin. So you don't need to set anything else. Just in case you want more or less pressure, you can easily adjust it, but no other adjustment is required. In case of acquiring separately a speed drive, you just have to set the pressure, the maximum height, the maximum amperage, and the number of installed pumps, because it's important that the speed drive detects how many pumps are installed to communicate correctly with them. And to just finish this webinar, we talk a little bit about Technoplus, which mounts the same application with the same speed drive technology. And how does it work? This pump is domestic, but it goes up to 7 cubic meters per hour. And this is the duty point that we have, 3 kilos, okay? In case we want 4 kilos, 4 bar, we can go up to 3 cubic meters per hour. In case we want to 5 cubic meters per hour, we can have up to 3 bar. And in case we want 7 cubic meters per hour, we will reach to 2 bar. And third, thank you for staying with us today. And this is all for this webinar. And now I am coming with you for any doubts you may have about it. Thank you very much.